this topic is so important for everybody's life, but then it is becoming so boring. It was dance and drama which was introduced to teach about these things in a very entertaining and dramatic way. First inspiration for me was to create something related to Shiva. That is very short. But then how Shakti has entered into it and how she made her place and told that I want to be here. That's what I feel. That it's so very spontaneously things happened, and Ekam Shiva became Ekam Ardhanarishwaram. And all my audiences, I don't know why, but they were all youth. I can see in the audience, 90% it was the youth sitting. It is a proper classical art, and today's very new generation is sitting and watching at the edge of the seats and not leaving to chodi do aap, but then they were so involved into it. My family is very, very spiritual and religious. I wouldn't even say them as two separate words. I think they are both same. You can't be spiritual and not religious. So that's a very new agey thing that we are going through today. The fact that we are trying to define Shiva Tattva in one line, I wouldn't say it is ever possible. But then, at the same time, he is who can take every form, and he is not confined to one form. It is like
शेफील्ड मराठी सांस्कृतिक मंडळाच्या दुसऱ्या नवदुर्गा पॉडकास्ट मालिकेच्या पर्वात आपल्या सर्वांचं स्वागत. यावेळी आम्ही हे पॉडकास्ट इंग्रजी व मराठी या दोन्ही भाषात करणार आहोत व आजचा भाग हा इंग्रजीत असेल. The delicate balance of the Vishwa has always relied on the symbiosis between Purusha and Prakriti. In other words, just like matter, antimatter, potential kinetic energies, masculine, feminine aspects need to be in sync for the universe to run smoothly. Modern physics has expounded this concept with many breakthroughs in recent decades. However, Sanatan Sanskriti always honored and imbibed this phenomenon in their daily lives. Nowhere does it come to personification and the divine form of Ardhanarishwara of Shiva and Shakti. Our guest today has taken upon herself to illustrate this phenomenon through her Kuchipudi Nritya Sadhana. She is the founder of Shri Hiranmayi Nruthyalaya, and she has mentored over 200 students from not only from Bharat but also countries such as the US, the UK, Germany, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia in Kuchipudi Nrutyakala. She is associated for over a decade with the Department of Language and Culture, Government of Telangana, Indian Council of Cultural Relations, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, Telangana Sangeet Nataka Akademi, Government of Telangana. She's been honored with several Puraskaras for her sadhana, Nritya Vilasini, Nritya Kala Sampoorna, Charusheele, Rashtriya Yuva Narthaki Puraskar, Star Sanman, and many more. It's both our pleasure and privilege to host Priyanka Bharde today. Priyanka ji, welcome to the NavDurga podcast 2024.
Thank you for the lovely introduction, and I'm so glad to be here, mainly because of the cause and the thought that went through, and I'm really excited for the further discussion.
Thank you. So, your list of accomplishments runs so long that I have been able to cover them all and do justice to it. But as when we talked previously in discussion of this podcast, we talked about your profile as well. But for our audience, would you like to walk us how you got into your Nritya Sadhana and how has been your journey so far?
Okay. If I have to say, like, when did I start dance, I couldn't pinpoint like that, because from my childhood, I have been a very artistic person. It could be dance, it could be painting. I'm very fond of painting, and anything doing artistically was my innate nature from my childhood. So I think because of that, I have been looking for, not like actively looking for any Kuchipudi dance guru, but then someone who can mold me in the art field. And on one fine day, I found my guru, Dr. P. Ramadevi Garu. She's from Hyderabad, and she's the one who completely taught me what Kuchipudi is, what is the tradition, and I owe all my sense of sticking to Shastra because to her. She's the one who guided me in such a way that I do not just out of passion fly away here or there, but then we stick to the Shastras, to the tradition. At the same time, she gave me so much freedom to bring innovative pieces, and that is something I feel a very rare combination that you can find in a guru. So, tradition and innovation can be very good friends, is what she taught me. So, she's the one who made me do my certification and diploma with distinction in Kuchipudi. And then I did my master's from Shri Hiranmayi Telugu University in Hyderabad. By God's grace, I got gold medal there, and I would give that to my gurus who have been so patient with me throughout the journey. And currently, I'm pursuing my PhD research. And apart from this, I also go as a professional lecture demonstrator for foreign delegates who come for some programs to attend in India, and I go there to talk about Indian culture, and that fills me with pride that ultimately all my work throughout the years is coming to a place where it is representing my country and culture.
Fantastic.
One of the things which, thank you very much for that kind of humble introduction. But I'll tell you what was really impressive about you. I watched your speech in Pune on YouTube, and I also noted that you are actually a techie as well. That's right, isn't it? You're a systems architect.
Yes, I work as a system
Yeah,
architect.
so help me with this, because most people associated art with one thing and technology as being very dry. So please help us understand how you combine these two completely different aspects, and what similarities do you see between being a systems architect and being a Kuchipudi Nrutyangana?
Oh, I feel that's my most beautiful part of my life, where I'm able to explore both the ends of existence. One is fully artistic and one is fully logical and scientific. As I said, I was an artistic person, but at the same time, I was very much into science. I'm a science student. Even today, I remember all those theorems. The physics was my most favorite, by the way. And I used to really get fascinated about cosmic events that happen, black holes, and even minor particles like the atom. The entire philosophy of existence, which science gives, is equally fascinating for me as how the artistic philosophy has taught me. So I feel it is very innate inside me to get attracted to art and science very naturally. I've never felt that, okay, I'm a techie person, so I'm not supposed to go into art, or I'm an artistic person, so techie culture is very dry. Fortunately, I didn't find like that, and that was my, I would say, the it made me more interesting, my journey more interesting because of these two factors coming together. So if I had been just a techie, I wouldn't have enjoyed my life this much. At the same time, I would quote, if I was just a dancer, I wouldn't have enjoyed this much. So both the ends have complemented each other so much. For example, in my office, I learned how logically you are supposed to take a project and not get emotionally driven somewhere, and how being very practically taking up decisions, delegating stuff, and also finishing everything on time. This is majorly the work culture, how it is. And because I know what does an HR do, what does a manager do, all that culture, I could replicate that in my academy, Shri Hiranmayi Nruthyalaya, where I have completely dedicated team who works for the media, for the fees, the finance, the artistic creative projects. So it is that way very, very organized in my academy. At the same time, if I see the effect of my artistic culture there, it is because I am into art. I do not take that much of stress that IT culture gives me, because it's very as an artist on stage, when we go, like, we have to show that particular rasa on stage, though we have a very opposite rasa going inside at home. So it's a very you need to be in control of what you think and what you feel and how much you can let it bother you. So that way it has helped me cope up the stress of IT culture so much. So I wouldn't pick one among them.
And I mean, everything that you were saying were making my head pop with lots more questions, because it is so fascinating to see somebody interspersing creative and logical, when in fact I know from working in this field that there is there is the logicality in the creativity as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what I was sort of fascinated about, because you spoke about Natya Shastra in your speech, and I thought I'll kind of, because Natya Shastra is also the expression of things which are within, but which are kind of ascribed or which are attributed to somebody else. How does Natya Shastra help in personality development? I'm really keen to know.
If you ask me what was Natya Shastra created for, it was purely for. Um, in fact, there is one first chapter in Natya Shastra which is called Natyotpatti, and the whole story that revolves around one point is uh, it's a very Puranic way of telling, but the gist of it is when you have to teach something related to dharma. And when I say dharma, it is purely about what is your duty, what is the right and wrong, and what are you supposed to do at so and so situation and all that. If you have to teach something related to this, it generally gets boring because people don't like to be preached and they go away, and especially kids. They are like, ये सब तो सुनते रहते हैं, अभी ये मत बताओ, हमको बस खेलना है, enjoy करना है. When this topic is, it is so important for everybody's life, but then it is becoming so boring. It was dance and drama which was introduced to teach about these things in a very entertaining and dramatic way, where the audience is entertained. And entertainment is considered as one of the very important factors according to Natya Shastra, and even Abhinava Gupta's work, if we see, they give a lot of importance to entertainment, because if you cannot hold the attention of the viewers, then the basic point is not achieved. So holding the attention, entertaining them, and without any regular conventional way, but then very artistically, this can be very creative. So using the creativity, you teach about dharma through dance and drama. And what else do you want in life beyond this is what I feel. So that is the Natyotpatti that the first chapter of Natya Shastra describes about. And practically, if I would say, uh, it is a very technical text. It is not something like we just read it like a novel, but a very technical text which talks about each part of dance and drama in detail. For artists, it is the book. If you don't know Natya Shastra, then somewhere we are not doing it right. I would say that. But then, after knowing that, after learning about the technicalities, using it again becomes the responsibility of the artist. You can use it to teach anything. It's a tool, and it's more like you have the power in your hands, and how you use it is what the point is. So, but then the whole point of creation of Natya Shastra was this.
Right. At least three more tangential questions, but I would ask them in the following way. From balancing your work with which is highly logical and keeping your sensibilities and sensitivities alive when you are presenting your art form, I think that has percolated down to what what the way how I discovered you, Ardhanarishwaram. We'll come to that in the latest questions. But as you mentioned, the challenges lie in entertaining and yet conveying the message of dharma. I believe everything that Bharat Muni, every art form that Bharat Muni envisaged, all the Kathak, Kuchipudi, Bharatnatyam, etc., to the Natyas, to the Kavyas, etc., there is always a end goal is conveying the message of dharma and Sanskriti, etc. But in doing so and in learning so, personally as well as professionally as well as when you present it on a bigger stage? Have there been any challenges? Have there been any obstacles? And if so, uh, how did you manage to overcome them, and or how did you learn to live with them in certain cases?
Obstacles related to which specific area? Because there are so many.
By all means, go on.
Okay. I would say for me, I wouldn't say obstacle, but then the challenge for me was balancing these two, my IT profession and dance. It has been a roller coaster ride for me. It was not at all easy, and at times it was so overwhelming. But then, fortunately, I never felt that, okay, why am I even doing all this? बस अब छोड़ दो अभी क्या ही करना है. I never felt that because I wouldn't give this credit that I was very passionate and all, but then it was a very natural tendency that I have, and it's something not I have worked too much to get it, but then it's very natural for me to stick to it, though it gets very difficult at times. So first thing for me was balancing both the professions. Firstly, the timings, and fortunately, I have got more or less very understanding workplaces, and they were actually very supportive. In fact, if you see one of the companies that I worked for, which is Capgemini, they have posted on Twitter about my dance career, and they told that you can do both and you can still be successful, and this is how life is, something like that. A very encouraging and very thoughtful post on Twitter, and I feel that was a huge encouragement for me. At the That's about the workplace, but at home I have a super strong team, which is my own family, my parents and my siblings. We are a team of 5 members. Each of us have our own departments. Like the entire creative department is mine. My mom takes care of the attire, the costumes, makeup, and all that. My father is into external events, promotion, the deals that you talk about, and all that. My brother is into the complete tech area, like how do you manage all the audio. My sister is more like she takes the classes when I'm not available because I'm doing many things. So that way, I am super blessed with a very strong team at home. Having both of these, the support at workplace and at home, it still gets challenging at times, specifically when you have so much to deliver at workplace and you have to create something which has to come from the creative inner space, and that requires time, some kind of the calm, that free space. So that is a challenge for me sometimes, where I don't have this liberty of getting that entire free space sometimes, but then I manage it somehow. And I would say personally, over the period of time, I have learned the skill of time management step by step. It was not easy in the beginning. It was very difficult, I would say, not just not easy. So now I have the entire day very meticulously planned. Even sometimes because of my work, I tend to forget to drink water, because of which it affects my body. So I have alarms now. So it keeps reminding me, okay, now this is your drink break, go have your water. So it might sound a little robotic, but then that's how it is for me. That's how it works for me. And very meticulously planned days. Apart from that, I would say use technology the right way. We think that the phone is our enemy today, but then my best friend, my the whole work happens through my phone. I use it very, very smartly, I would say. I would take that credit because none of my people at home ever say that, why are you always on phone? They always say that she's working on phone. So that way, I have used technology the right way, and it is my friend, not an addiction. And even Instagram, if I watch, it gives me so much about today's generation. What are they thinking? What creativity you can bring, and how is the audience today? It's very important to stay connected to today and not just be, okay, I learned this, but then the audience, when this was created, was different. And today the kids are different, the youth is different. They have to get convinced. So all my pieces are generally focused on today's youth and kids. So that way, I would say it's a very step-by-step process that you learn to balance things and learn time management. And one point I would say is, how much ever we say smart work is good, but ultimately the ground level पे जो hard work करना है वो करना ही है. So we might do a lot of, I would say it should be 20% or 30% of smart work during the design phase or decision making phase. But then when things have to be executed, when you have to deliver, it is hard work. You can't escape that. So this I learned the hard way. I did quite few things to surpass the hard work, but then it doesn't happen. You have to do it. And living in the present is what I really do. When I'm at work, I never think of dance, and when I'm in dance in class, I never think of work. So this all I could learn over the period of time. It was not something you can start with. So living in present, uh, understanding that hard work is something you cannot escape, and yeah, I think this is all together helps me go through all the challenges.
Right. So you spoke about your calm place, and that helps you keep grounded and that helps you keep focused. Although I can sense what that calm place or the calm process is, but I would like you to explain it a bit more about that.
Oh, that would be my most favorite part to talk about. My calm place is something I generally go to temples, like not crowded temples, but then very breezy, open land temples where I feel temples are my go to places for energy. I sit there, I just watch. I don't do anything specific like so and so kriya and all, nothing like that. I sit there, I watch. Uh, Another calm place for me is movies, though it might sound not very convincing. But then my calm place is definitely movies. I being lost into some story makes me forget the stress I might have sometimes. And thriller is my genre. So I like intelligent movies where you are on your toes to see the suspense and all that. So these things keep me, I wouldn't say grounded, but then they bring me back from whatever I'm going through. So temples and movies and books. I would give credit to books also, especially not the technical books. I would say Natya Shastra is when I'm fully charged. I wouldn't go to Natya Shastra when I need energy. I wouldn't just like that say that Natya Shastra solves everything. No, you need some kind of, I would say, arahata is the word. I don't know how to tell it in English. Some kind of eligibility to even open Nati Shastra. So it's not like a book for everyone. But for me, during the times when I do not have that energy to create something, these are the things I do. And my calm place is generally very spontaneous. I do not plan it like, okay, I have to create this or that. Ekam Ardhanarishwaram is super spontaneous, completely spontaneous. And I'll talk about it in some time when we come to that topic. But then these are how my most favorite creations have happened, very spontaneous. And when I'm not too much involved into the daily course and all that.
I'm going to ask you about the Ardhanarishwaram anyway, so go on. We are really keen to hear more about that.
Okay, before that, I would say about my research first, because uh, this research is something which has changed everything for me. I was a dancer, I was a techie, that's all fine. But then the moment I did this decision, I made this decision of going into an official research, like a proper research. Things have turned in such a way that now when I connect the dots, it's really, really beautiful. I would really say that my PhD research, though I've started like 2 years back, this is my year. I'm anticipating that I'll finish the research this year and submit the thesis. I'm trying my best, but let's hope. I don't know. But then it was 2 years back when I started officially. I realized that it was on paper 2 years back, but then my work has started 10 years back. Because the topic that I've chosen is Shiva Tattva. And Shiva Tattva is not something you can do in 2 years. It's more like I was in my teenage when this fascination for Shiva has grown so much in me that I used to go to Shivalayas and had this very, I don't know why, but this habit of collecting Shiva stotras and writing it down, like literally handwritten. I had this, I don't know why, I could take a printout, but then I used to write. I was very good at calligraphy also. I used to take those stotras, decorate it, write it, and make a book out of it, and then go to Shivalayas and read them. And I feel so much of thrill in reading those stotras, Shiva Tattva stotra, Shiva Manasa Puja. So many. I had almost like 25. So I did that, and somehow after that, before that, my family is very, very spiritual and religious. I wouldn't even say them as two separate words. I think they are both same. You can't be spiritual and not religious. So that's a very new agey thing that we are going through today. But then my family fortunately has given me this environment of being rooted to dharma, about our culture, our rituals, and taught me that rituals are not something you can just like that throw away and only think that बस मन के अंदर है तो बस है ऐसा ऐसा नहीं है. So that way I had a very good environment at home to explore this part of life. From there, when I started watching, now when I see the journey, from there, it very organically started at our home to start visiting the kshetras of Shiva. And I finished visiting all the Jyotirlingas, all the Chardham, the Panchabhuta Mahalingas, and each of them gave me very, very unique experiences. I wouldn't say some divine experience, something came and I saw something, no, but lot of inspiration came through that journey that I did to all these Jyotirlingas. And each of the places, all those kshetras, I used to talk to the local people there, know the folk stories, because the people there know it much better than the books, I would feel. I used to discuss with those vendors, especially those old ladies who sell those fruits and flowers. I used to sit with them and talk about what is the story of this temple, why is Tuljapur having this. I heard in one of my family traditions, I came to know that there is this instance where Tulja Bhavani and Bhavani Shankar play Pachisi, the game of dice. But then I didn't see it in any of the official books. I don't know, maybe I didn't find the right books yet. I went there and I sat with those vendors. That old lady was trying to sell me flowers. I took the flowers. But then she explained me. I asked her, what is the essence of the story? She literally showed me the direction, how to go to that particular small temple, how there is this vigrahas of Shiva and Parvati sitting and playing Pachisi. And she took me to those, it was more like a cave. I wouldn't say cave, but then it sounded like, it looked like that. So that way, very organically, I met people who spoke about the local folk stories in those areas. And that way, I came to know so many stories about Shiva and Shakti, and both the classical way and the folk way. That's the most beautiful part, I would see. I was not sticking only to the classical or bookish work, but then what evolved in that region very organically. So I went to these places, I spoke to them, and then slowly I started getting connected to a lot of text. One is the Shiva Puran, then Yoga Vasishtha is my one more very favorite work by Vasishtha Muni. And I would say the Upanishads, especially the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and Skanda Purana, these were something really big for me in the initial days. I didn't know that I will ever go to these books. But then, with His grace, these books came into my life and I understood the tattva of him much better. Then, slowly, this fascination also got connected to my art. The fact that I was dancing and also doing this unconscious research, it became conscious when I finished my certificate and diploma levels of dance. Then I understood that, okay, maybe dance has entered my life and this has entered my life, and somewhere these should get connected. Very organically, I felt that And I started seeing how dance can be a path of devotion. Through that, slowly it converted into now this a proper research which I have taken up. And I would say the reason I've taken up PhD research is very selfishly to get this whole discipline of sticking to a schedule and reading the number of books in so and so number of days or whatever it is. Because when we are into a very casual way of research, it doesn't happen, the most effective way. But then because of the timelines that I have and all, I could read a lot of stuff in very less amount of time, and very effectively it has been going on till now. So that way, my research is not just for the degree or something, but it is all the things that I've done all my life. This research is connecting all those points. So it's very special for me, and I feel that that's the biggest thing I must have achieved today, to be able to connect everything that I've done. So through that research, this thing called Ekam Ardhanarishwaram happened. Department of Language and Culture, Government of Telangana. The director of this department, Dr. Amidi Harikrishna sir, he is the one who encouraged me to go ahead to make this production. Before that, I had done Ekam Krishna. That was a huge hit and people had loved it so much. That was a very smaller version, like 20 to 30 minutes one. This Ekam Ardhanarishwaram is almost like 1.5 hours. And what an enormous journey it was to create that. So, first inspiration for me was to create something related to Shiva. That is very short. But then how Shakti has entered into it and how she made her place and told that I want to be here. That's what I feel. That it's so very spontaneously things happened, and Ekam Shiva became Ekam Ardhanarishwaram. And the whole point that Shiva and Shakti are not separate, and Shiva is the unmanifested energy, and Shakti is the manifested form. All this was happening in my research, and this very parallelly, this was getting created. And again, those two got mixed, and all my research work I presented through Ekam Ardhanarishwaram. I took different swarupas of Shiva and Shakti from different kshetras, from the northeast and west, south of Bharat. And through this journey, I understood how all the Navarasa are within Shiva and Shakti, and how all of them go back to Shantarasa, how all these Swarupas go back to the Shivalinga. So it's a very beautiful analogy that I could find, because of which, one more point here I would say is the whole um, purpose of my research was not just for my own understanding, but I wanted to create something which will remain at least a little useful for this current generation and the upcoming generations. I wanted to do something which is helpful for others also, and not just for me. So that's the reason I created this Ekam Ardhanarishwaram. And if you see the reviews, if you read that I got after this, it is 90% from the youth, and that was my target audience. The whole creation happened with today's youth as the target audience, and how they might conceive this, how they might understand this, and how I should be presenting it. How will it be very relative to them, relatable to them? And all my audiences till now, if I see, we have done 4 shows of Ekam Ardhanarishwaram. 5th is going to happen very soon in Jaipur. So all my audiences, I don't know why, but they were all youth. I can see in the audience, 90% it was the youth sitting. It is a proper classical art, and today's very new generation is sitting and watching at the edge of the seats and not leaving to chodi do aap. But then they were so involved into it that after the show, they used to come to me. People told me that this particular experience has made me very strongly attracted towards dharma, towards Shiva Shakti, and I want to explore this into my life, and I want to learn about this. And we feel that something is there beyond this life that we are living. Like, you have your job, you get your salary, you go out on weekends, you have some fun, and you come back, and just that keeps repeating. And you get married, you have children, you get grandchildren, and that's it. It's a very standard way of life everybody is living. But then I'm so glad that youth came to me and told that there is something more to this kind of life. And maybe I will start opening some text after seeing this production and know more about Shiva and Shakti. I don't think I need anything more for this production as a return for me. I feel really blessed, and I wouldn't take the entire credit to myself. I can really see how I was the instrument. It's not something like a very cliched answer that I'm giving, but I can really understand so many of those parts were not planned by me. Shakti entering into the production was not planned by me. It was Shiva only, because I have been fascinated by Shiva. So somehow that happened, and people started giving ideas, and I could very fortunately use Natya Shastra to execute it, to explain the most abstract things through dance. That was the most challenging part, I would say. So all this happened, and people came, different kind of support came from different directions in different ways, and this has become a hit. And I can only imagine what else they want it to do in future. So we are very open to this experience, and we are not sticking to or confining ourselves to only this kind of shows or these kind of places, because we were so open to any kind of audience. We could go to 4 different places and perform this, and Jaipur is the next one. The challenge was, as a classical dancer, especially as a Kuchipudi dancer, generally the challenge is the North Indians do not um, very easily relate to South Indian dance forms in the beginning. I wouldn't say it like a statement, but generally there is this idea, okay, this is South Indian dance form. उनका कुछ तो होता होगा, वहाँ के कुछ देवी देवता का होता होगा. I wanted to break that kind of perspective. That's the reason we involved 4 different forms, dance forms: the Gondal from Maharashtra, and Kuchipudi from the south. From the Kolkata, we took the Dhunichi dance, the ladies who dance during Kali Puja and all with the Dhunichi and all that. So it was very beautiful experience for me. I would say I came to know so much about Indian dance forms that way. In fact, there are so many of my students who are from Bengal, some are from Rajasthan, some are from Maharashtra, some are Telugu, some are Tamilians. So I used to talk to them, like, is this how you celebrate at your home? So it was very open conversation we used to have. So that way, Ekam Ardhanarishwaram, I would say, is like the crux of my whole work that I did till now through research. Of course, there is many parts to my research. What I presented through the production is one of the parts, but I would say that's a very significant part.
Wow, just wow. Again, your enthusiasm, your depth of knowledge, your breadth of knowledge, and the interconnectivity between all the different things that shows so beautifully. Goodness me. Thank you very much. I mean, that was really very enlightening. I'll hand over to Sandeep.
Yes, I can speak about this topic for hours and on end, as we have on the on our discussions as well. But I'll still I know the process in which makes you think this way, but I'll still deliberately ask this question. Shiva has manifested in Puranas, in Vedas as the Rudra, in Puranas as Shiva. He is a Nataraja, he is a Sundareshwara, he is the one who creates the Tandava, he is the Rudra, and he is the Kailasapati, and he's also Bhairava. And yet, the Shiva Tattvam is as ethereal and as indescribable as he is. To encapsulate by somebody as gifted and artistic as you is we can't imagine. Us poor souls can't imagine and can't represent. But when you are doing it in an academic way, the Shiva Tattvam is something. It would take a while to expound and explain. So Could you shed some light on what your research has led us to understanding of the Shiva Tattva, which is so ethereal?
Hmm.
For people who don't know about Shiva Tattva, I think it will be helpful to start with what Shiva
Exactly.
Tattva is, because I said to Sandeep, not many people would even know what Shiva Tattva actually is.
That also.
Right. So first of all, here we'll have to understand the word Tattva, Shiva Tattva, and the Shiva that you see in the Puranic stories, the one who is clad with tiger skin, bhasma, all the iconographical picture that you have in your mind. That is different, and Shiva Tattva is a little, I wouldn't say different, but then a little higher. The Tattva is very subtle, very, it's like a principle which is governing the entire existence. And also, even before I get into this discussion, there is this very clear understanding that I had to get uh, in the beginning itself, that there is no one way of explaining this. And all the schools of philosophy that you see in Hindu Dharma, or even the Jain or the Bauddha Dharma, you see everybody is talking in their own perspective, and they are convincing in their own perspective. And you can't unify them all in any way. And there is no need also. If you are trying to unify, it's more like one of my the interviews that I take for my PhD research. One of my speakers had told this, and I was so fascinated by this one point. For a scientist, if you see the ancient scientists, even if you see the Greek mathematicians, they were first philosophers and then scientists or mathematicians, whatever it is. Even ancient Bharat, if you see, spirituality and science were not two different, diverged subjects. It is some way they will ultimately come to a point where they're trying to define something related to metaphysics and the existence, how it got created, what's the creation. Maybe they are not talking the Puranic language or the Vedic language, but then everybody is ultimately trying to see, why are we existing? What's the point? मतलब कर ही क्यों रहे ये सब? This and this kind of questions arise when you have done quite something in life, and then you feel, okay, what next? And it's beyond that regular standard things, line of things that we do. So all the philosophers, if you see, they have somehow gone to this point, like, why is everything existing, or what is the point of doing all this, or do we really need enlightenment, or does it even exist, or is it a myth, or whatever it is. So this has been the discussion overall. And if you see the same Shiva, if you see through one Siddhanta, the Shaiva philosophy, if you see, it is defined in one way. The Lingayat path, if you see, there are some changes there. The Veera Shaiva, if you see, there are a lot of changes there. Kashmiri Shaivism, it brings its own very mysterious angle to this. The Tantric way, if you see, then it's completely different. And the fact that we are trying to define Shiva Tattva in one line, I wouldn't say it is ever possible. But then, at the same time, this understanding that he is who can take every form, and he is not confined to one form. It is like the ocean. The ocean can take different shapes through different waves. But do we call that this is the shape of the ocean? It has the ability to take so many shapes, but it's not confined to one shape. I find these examples with Jagadguru Shankaracharya gives in his Tattva Bodha. And many of the philosophers, many acharyas have given such examples where the gold is seen in bangle, necklace, and a ring. They are all different forms, but they are again the same gold. It is like the same ethereal energy is taking different forms like us, but it is not confined to form, but it can take so many forms. So if you go through the Shaiva Marga, the ultimate energy is looked upon as Shiva. And if you go to the Devi Marga, they see it as Shakti. Vishnu Marga, if you say Vaishnavism, you see it as the Narayana. And there is no need, I would say, to forcibly draw one conclusion, pulling all these margas together. This is the Shiva Tattva, I would say. It is infinite. It cannot be defined through one sentence or one kind of explanation. Even this, the fact that I'm talking about is also limiting it to some extent. It's very unexplainable, but for the benefit of research, research wouldn't go ahead. I wouldn't submit my thesis ever if I just think like this. But for the research, I have taken points like what are the different siddhantas that are there, which have very convincingly explained about what Shiva Tattva is, the ultimate principle through which everything is coming. Different siddhantas, different Puranas, different arts that have expressed Shiva Tattva. It could be dance, music, painting, drama, film making. It can also be story writing, poems. This is also a very, very fascinating way to put that divine experience into expression. And what artists can do is something one step always up, I would say, than what the general prose written or some essay written. Artist writing a poem is always more juicy and more convincing, I would feel that way. So this is how I have taken the siddhantas, the artistic way of expression, the different forms. Now that we have discussed that it can, Shiva Tattva can be uh, explained through different forms. That's what we did in Ekam. So we have taken so many forms of Shiva Tattva, and you will feel that all the kinds of forms that you can even imagine are included in his forms. Even the ones that we have explored till now as humans, maybe there are beyond these also, but even these that we have explored, you can see that the Bhairava, Mahakal Bhairava and Dakshin Kali, and Meenakshi and Sundareshwar. This is like two ends of one spectrum. And the same thing when we did in Ekam Ardhanarishwaram, the audience was really experiencing the romance and love of Meenakshi and Sundareshwara. We make them get married on stage and all that. So all were so, completely into that trance of love, romance. At the same time, when Kali and Mahakal Bhairav comes on stage, that thrill, that intensity, that kind of extreme, matlab, you can't imagine more extreme intensity than Kali and Bhairav on stage. So this, the ability of encompassing all the points in the whole spectrum that human consciousness can understand till now. You can see it all in Shiva Tattva. And scientifically, what you can draw it through it, that is also is possible by understanding this. So I had to forcibly limit myself to these few pointers through which Shiva Tattva can be understood. And ultimately, I have connected all this through dance and how this can be brought out through dance. Full credits to Natya Shastra for even letting me think that, okay, this is possible through dance. It was very abstract. And thanks to the gurus that I have met, that I have seen their productions, I have taken their views, how they work. So a lot of perspectives have come into this research, and that's how I tried to show that okay, it's such an abstract thing. You can show it through forms, through poetry, through dance, through different art forms, and that's how is my research.
Beautiful. I couldn't have understood it more aptly. Before Girishji takes the final one, I'll just follow up it with one small one. For Ekam Ardhanarishwaram, don't know how, don't ask me how. I know that all your Shishyas have also done some sadhanas before going. Could you walk us through that? The reason why I'm asking this question is it's not some group of talented performers who are going to do an exposition of some of the Puranic forms, and then audiences enthralled by the art. But there is the subtle level of sadhana which takes it to the highest level. So could you walk us through that?
I'm very glad that you have asked this. I, as a dancer, was doing well. I, as a researcher, was doing well. Then came a very, I would say, push in my whole journey That's the day when I met my Adhyatmic Guru, Shri Rajashri Nandiji. I have no words. I don't want to thank him also, because what can I thank? What can I even do to give back is something very arrogant, I feel. What will I give back to him? So he's the one who I was, it's like I said, he's the joining of the dots that happened for me. He's the one who connected my dance research, my Shiva fascination, everything through a string called sadhana. And he introduced me into the Bharat sadhana, and I am under his guidance for few years now. And he is the one who really gave me the perspective of how to look at things when you enter into this whole fiasco of spirituality. Because the fact that I told that there are so many siddhantas, so many sampradayas, which one will work for you? You have no idea. And what do you do? Matlab, it's like the more choice you have, the more difficult it gets. If you have no choice, you have one path, follow, then there is no hard work. You just have to follow what everybody is doing. But then so much of choice is there in Sanatan Dharma, which makes it slightly difficult in the beginning. But then once you show that you are really dedicated to it and you're very sincere to it and you will stick to it, whatever happens, then the path unfolds for you on its own. This is my own experience. Rajashri Dada happened to me like that. I had been, and it's not something like you wait for the guru and then you start working. It doesn't work like that. You have to work in whatever way you're doing as of now and keep doing things. That's what I did for the last 10 years. And some days, Guru comes into life and he will be or she will be joining the dots for all of us. And he's the one who gave me like something very practical to do with, instead of I was completely into the bookish knowledge that I collected. It was literally collection of knowledge through different books. And I know what Siddhanta tells what, but I didn't experience what they're talking about. And I didn't have any clue of how will I experience that. So he's the one who explained me, not like specifically to me, he's giving this to everyone today. And he's so famous, and I'm so happy for everything that's happening around him. So because of him, I understood the significance of a sampradaya, of a path, choosing one path, sticking to it, and having a guru. Having a guru is like having a pilot. Else we think that we are flying, but we are going nowhere. The plane is on flight, yes, but then we are going nowhere. He is the one who will give the direction. And after that, it is again us who will have to work. Like again, going back to the point, all the thing boils down to the ground level of hard work, which you cannot escape. So sadhana is that basic activity that you should be doing every day. And what I do under his guidance is the japa and different stotras that he advises us. Through that, what I really feel that something was helping me throughout my journey for Ekam Ardhanarishwaram, because this and that happened more or less at the same time. The creation, I was trying to create this for the last 3-4 years, but then, like I said, I was going like a plane going here and there. Sadhana gave me that adhara. This is his language. Have your adhara strong, your foundation strong, then things will happen on its own. He explained how sadhana works, what are the indications that your sadhana is working. These are like actual tidbits that you require when you start a sadhana. And huge books won't give this because they are very huge. And at some point, you need that small information that you need at one junction, left or right. And that's where the guru comes into picture, a live guru. So he taught me sadhana, and I was, even before I met him, I used to always train my students about dharma, about whatever my understanding was till then, why we should protect it. It's not just because you're born into it, but then the world needs it. Something related to dharma keeps happening in our class. We keep discussing. In fact, after the regular dance class, kids all sit around me and they wait for that discussion to happen. And that's what is very fascinating for me, that we tell that today's generation is not very interested into it, but then they need the right way of telling. You need to fascinate them. And that's what again Natya Shastra did to me. You need to hold their attention first, tell them stories, bring one imagination in front of them, and then you hold them and you talk about the stuff. That's how it worked for me. I was already doing this, but then it was again like what I am, I'll teach the same thing. It was all about the stories, the very emotional experiences that you can have with Shiva, Shakti, and all that. But sadhana is the real work that you do, and with his guidance, I made my students do all the sadhanas, in fact, as a regular sadhana, as a regular practice, not just for any production and all, but for particularly Ekam Ardhanarishwaram. I don't know why I got this thought, but we were depicting the deities, different forms of Shiva and Shakti. And I thought, why not? Why not my kids start some sadhana of the deity which they are portraying? Like the girl who was performing as Kali, she will do Kali sadhana. And very, very simple again, not like too complicated. I took all the guidance from Rashtriya Dada. This is how I'm doing. Please let me know if it is right or not. I'm so glad that he took that time out to see my messages. And he said, yes, go ahead. That yes, go ahead is enough for me. Then I went ahead. They did it so dedicatively. I'm really proud of all my girls. And because as kids, we think that their life is better than us, but they have their own struggles. They have their exams, their projects. Coming to dance class itself is such a task. Apart from all this, they still take out 1 hour of time somehow and they do their sadhanas. And when we went to Kashi and we performed there, after every show, I would say Kashi was more significant, but then after every show, at the end, we have this Maha Arati where all the forms are standing and real Arati happens, and it's more like a temple feel that you get. After that production ends, all these girls who stand like those Devi Devtas, they come out and they cry very inorganically, very uncontrollably. They cry, they hug each other and they cry, saying, what did we do to get this? To stand here in this costume, to wear this makeup? And why am I even doing this? Do I deserve this? These are the kind of questions they get. And they are now so connected to the deities they have played that I don't have to ask, did you do sadhana? Never have to ask. We have a WhatsApp group separate for this. Everybody so dedicated. Nobody forgets sadhana. For the last 1.5 to 2 years, everybody has done every day, unbroken. And that is an indication, I would say, that the deities are happy with what we are doing. Because Rajashri Dada tells that if your sadhana is not consistent, somewhere the deities have not taken interest in you and you are also not giving full energy. So that way, all my kids are very dedicated to sadhana and to dance. And the environment here is like this. There is no, what do you say? There is no chance of learning dance in Shri Hiranmayi Nruthyalaya without discussing about dharma or keeping all those things aside. It will not happen. So it has to be coupled. That's how it is here.
My goodness, I could have listened to you for hours on end and still have so many questions to ask. That was superb, and I'm really, we all are really grateful to you. I think what you have exemplified is where we were certainly, when I was growing up, we were told to keep Indian culture aside and science aside. I think what you have done is you have brought the two together and you have made your students look within rather than without. And I think certainly as a child psychiatrist, I can guarantee you that that is one of the best ways of sustaining your mental health over a long period of time. Priyanka ji, thank you ever so much for sparing your time and enlightening us on everything that you do. I think on behalf of Sheffield Marathi Sanskritik Mandal, I can't thank you enough. And I do wish you all the very best for your doctorate. And let's hope the next time we speak, we will be speaking to Dr. Priyanka Bharde.
Thank you so much. I hope that happens very soon. And I'm really glad that you being away from Bharat and you're still taking these steps to protect the culture, protect dharma. And it requires people like you, especially when it is outside the country. Because outside, it's very easy. Inside the country itself is very easy today to forget all this and be carried away by materialistic life. But then what you're doing, I am really, really proud of it. In fact, the fact that you're going outside the country is for some kind of a job. Everybody goes generally for that reason, and that job is generally busy. It keeps you so busy, and you can't take out time enough for your family itself. Apart from that, you're doing all this. I think it's really commendable. I hope what all you're doing goes big, and everybody who's watching this takes inspiration from you and very unapologetically stand for dharma like you both are doing. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and considering me for this, and wish you the best in the future.
Thank you very much, Priyanka ji, and very hope soon all the Ekam Ardhanarishwaram shows this is a tremendous response they have been receiving. And if Shiva willing, we would definitely want to see it in person the next time we visit Bharat. Thank you very much again.